What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Brave and Faithful podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Rating Dionisio. Today, I have he's not a veteran, he's not an active duty, but he has a strong sense of patriotism and admiration for us, the men and women who serve our country in the armed forces. His passion has allowed him to help thousands of military personnel, both active and veterans, to obtain VA financing and attain the American dream.
Mhm.
He's a loan officer and he's also the branch leader at Movement Mortgage. Rick Elmendorf. What's going on, Rick?
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Hey, I appreciate you
Oh,
for coming on, man. We were talking offline, and like I told you before, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to be benefiting from this episode, especially just with our recent guests and their interest in real estate and
yeah,
VA loans and things like that. So appreciate you for coming on.
absolutely. Pretty hot topic right now, real estate.
Yeah,
Going
yeah.
nuts right now.
But before we get into that, we were talking offline. So you're a military brat, right? Your father
Yeah,
served. Can you just tell the audience like what branch of service he was in and when did he serve and things like that?
yeah, sure. Yeah. So my dad was he was in the Air Force, got in the early 50s. Flew, I think when they first came out with the fighter, the jets,
Yeah.
and just flew some really cool airplanes. Retired in 1970. I was born overseas in Bangkok, Thailand, during the war in '69,
Mm.
and yeah, he was doing some really interesting stuff, completely off the books, over in whatever he was doing. I didn't find this out until after he died, but his best man told me. But yeah, he flew pretty much every plane known to man, and was just a great guy. Taught me a lot about life and business, and he was the one that really kind of introduced me. Business part into getting in the military community, and just one thing led to another, and just fell in love with the people and the culture, and just everything. So just kind of set my sights on serving that community.
Yeah, so I mean you were in the military family, so you kind of grew into that, right?
Yeah.
Is that what kind of led you into, kind of helping out, you know, like we talked about the active duty and the veterans with their homes and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people look at it as differently, and I've really kind of grown up with the mindset. You don't do anything for money. You do it because you love it, and if you love what you do, it's not work. And you know, I think for a lot of things that there's just a lot of need. I mean, people think, hey, the military guys, they got a great loan, they've got the VA loan, they got great benefits and a lot of things, but it's not an easy life, and
Right.
especially if you're deploying and the spouse has got to handle everything, and so we do a lot with that, and I mean, just throw in an unscheduled PCS or whatnot, and your life is in a whirlwind. So, and figuring you just bought the house, you 100% financed it, and you got to figure everything else out. So, a lot of what we've been trying to do is just kind of come alongside um, these guys, and help. A lot of the programs we've done has been kind of aimed at the active duty, and is carried over into to just all veteran and military families. So it's been really cool to see how it's grown.
How how did you get your start in real estate? Like tell us a little bit of the background and how you
Yeah.
got into that.
Yeah, so my brother was a real estate appraiser, Craig, and I mean, I was a golfer. That's how the only way I could get into college was to play golf, and I was thankfully very good at it. And I got recruited to George Mason University, with a bunch of other freshmen. So I played golf, and all the real estate appraisers were golfers. And the appraisal happens obviously when you buy a house. You've got to get where you refinance. You have to get an appraisal. Tells
Right.
the bank how much they can loan you. So I was actually working for the guys that were doing that report. And so I started out doing that. And on one day I'm walking around with a briefcase. Yeah, so I'm dating myself, right? I was having a briefcase with the one of the phones you find from the movie Wall Street, the big
Those big
blocks, right?
phones.
I had one of those. And dude, I'm just walking around my briefcase. I'm like, I got like 30 orders from this one guy. His name was Alex. I'm like, man, this guy does a lot of business, and I'm just doing the math in my head. I'm like, and appraisal business is fairly monotonous. So that was kind of my first. I'm like, maybe I want to be a loan officer. I don't know. And I heard a radio ad on WAVA Christian Radio, and I'm like, man, I got to call this guy. I called him up, and my first job in the business was driving an hour and a half to work every day from uh, Clifton, Virginia to Catonsville, Maryland for 18 months back and forth. So it's kind of like some of these guys trying to get into the Pentagon every day, I guess. So I totally feel you. That's how I got started. That's how I
Oh
got started.
wow. So I'm looking at your LinkedIn here, right? And you're talking about like loan officer, and you got a website, Loan with Rick.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that might not be, for those people that might be new to, they might be in looking for their first home and things like that. Walk us through the process of like, what you do as a loan officer and how you help home buyers.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, just it's always good to have an initial consultation. You just kind of figure out, there's a lot of planning involved. It's not as straightforward as one may think, especially in today's market when, especially with VA financing. And if you don't plan to put any money on down the house, it's a little bit more challenging than it has been is in the past. But the whole mortgage process really isn't as complicated as it used to be. But you do want to have an initial conversation. That's what we typically do. Whether it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, a
Right.
hand holding hour with this, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but just kind of get your strategy straight. What are you looking to do? Where are make sure the mortgage is fitting within your short and long-term financial objectives. That's really step one. And then, we fill in all the blanks. You do an online loan application, and everybody's pretty much doing an online things now because it removes a lot of the paperwork that's necessary. So you go online, you complete the application, and then at that point, it's just about a verification process. It's not like it was before where, well, I'll say before, it definitely wasn't like it was before where you didn't have to give anything back in the financial crisis. It was like, oh, what's your name? Yep, I'm blood type this, and my name's Rick. And oh yeah, you're approved.
You're
It's
talking
kind of
about
how it was.
before 2008.
Yeah, like
Right,
before
right,
2008, it was
right.
like, are you breathing? You can have a loan. Yes, sir, you can. But now it's just simple supporting documents. And if you're active, that's pretty easy. I mean, I know you're an '04 with 18 years for pay. I mean, I kind of know what you make, so
Right.
that's easy. But then it's just a matter of having your pre-approval up front, getting with the right real estate agent that can go search for homes, and doing a lot of your pre-work beforehand. Um, I won't belabor the process, but obviously the finding a house part is kind of the hard part nowadays. Getting the loan is almost the easy part. Finding the house part is the hard part. So we actually are bringing on tools like, I mean, in my market, you're paying more than what the list price is, which is really kind of unnerving for a guy who maybe be there 3 years. So you got to really be careful, and not just walk in willy nilly and say, oh yeah, let's go ahead and pay 50 grand more for this house. And then I get the, then I'm PCS in 3 years, I got to sell and I put no money down, am I going to be in trouble? So we actually developed a tool for this. Well, I didn't develop, a buddy of mine did. It's called a bid over ask. So just a lot of neat things where we can actually use values, forecasted historical values, to see, hey, am I paying too much? Am I bidding too little? Because you do got to bid.
Right.
You have to be aggressive. So that process is a little challenging right now. But we make it work. There's I kind of look at it this way. What's the worst case scenario? What do you do? Do you just go, okay, I'm just going to live on base? Or am I going to go rent something? Am I going to wait? Waiting good? I don't know. There's a couple dangers to waiting too. Rates, MBA says rates are going to be 4% next year. So they're probably wrong, but let's just say they're right. And the homes are probably going to be appreciating
A lot
next
more.
year.
Yeah.
So you add that's a double whammy. And then all of a sudden you're getting priced out of a market. So a lot of things to consider when you're going through that entire process.
Yeah. I was watching one of your videos. You just mentioned about bidding and things like that.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it now, like in today's, it's a seller's market where all the houses seem like they're going way over
Yeah.
what they what they are, right? And like people
Yeah.
are like bidding way over the asking price. Um,
Yeah. It's
so it,
nuts. So it's,
yeah. So what's your advice for home buyers right now? Because my walking through, like my parents are moving from California eventually to Florida,
mhm,
and that's one of the things that they're kind of experiencing right now is like, even though the asking price is this, people are bidding
mhm,
10,000, maybe sometimes even 20,000 over the asking price.
mhm. My advice is be very careful, and it all depends on your specific position. I mean, if you're active duty, your career is going to move you somewhere in the next 3-4 years, maybe, then you got to be a little more cautious.
All right.
If this is like kind of the end of the road and you're coming to DC and you're kind of done after that and you're going to retire and get your Beltway Bandit job, or you're going to be moving to Florida, that's a whole different story. I just I see more people making the mistake of not bidding enough than bidding too much,
Mm.
because you know time cures all wounds. If you end up paying, I forget who said it. I think it was Rick Edelman, and I don't say yes or no to liking the guy or not, but I don't really know him that well. But he said something in the book that was actually fairly genius. He said, when you buy a house, don't worry about you. I mean, you buy it for the yard, you buy it for the location, and if you end up making money, consider yourself lucky, not good. And I think it's kind of a good mantra to say, hey, don't time cures all wounds. Don't worry about like really overpaying if $5,000, $10,000, and I say that's not a chump change, but I'm just saying, don't let that be the deterrent.
Yeah.
If you're going to, especially if you're going to have a home that's going to be in a good appreciating number. Plus, what's the cost of waiting? Remember, every single year you're chipping down on your principal. So you're kind of like forcing that equity position a little bit every year as you make your mortgage payment. What's the converse? Do I rent? Do I wait? All these things have to be factored in. So my advice is use my bid over ask calculator. I'm not trying to sell anything, but goodness gracious, it's a good tool to say, hey, there's some cases where it'll say, no, 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 not for this property. This property is not the one to do it. You're bugging out in 3 years? Absolutely no, sir. No, no, no. Let's find something else. So that's my advice. Just be very, very cautious. But if you're at the end of your career or you're a veteran, you can be a little bit more flexible with bidding over ask, I guess is the best way to say it.
Where do we find this calculator that you're talking about?
Yeah, if you go to loanwithrick.com, and there is a little tab called calculators, and I've actually developed two really neat calculators. People love to tinker, so I actually built an Excel spreadsheet for both purchasing and refinancing. If you want to mess with like, hey, can I save money on an IRRRL? A lot of people hate starting over on a VA IRRRL. Say I've been paying on this thing for 8 years. I don't want to start another 30-year. Well, good news, you don't have to. But this is where the calculators are. So the bid versus ask is on that page.
Okay. So
Yeah,
just go to loanwithrick.com, uh,
and click
click on
calculate.
calculators, and then
Yep.
you'll see that there. All right. So good transition there. Loanwithrick.com. Like, how did that all come about? How did you start that? Where this idea come from? How long has it been up?
Well, it started from me going, no, 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 it's Elmen. Most
Uh,
military guys, like, hey, Elmendorf, like the Air Force Base, and they go,
right.
aha, yeah, 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 I got it. Most of the Air Force guys get that one. But yeah, it was more of like, man, Elmendorf team is so hard to spell. So Loan with Rick, that's kind of as genius as it
Yeah,
was,
yeah, yeah.
just Loan with Rick.
Okay. And just some of the things that you cover, we talked about like purchasing a home and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Talk to us about VA loans. Like, you know, there are some. I mean, most veterans are knowledgeable with it, but again,
Yeah.
there's some that still don't know much about it. Can you just explain to our audience the benefits, some of the advantages with
Yeah.
the VA loan?
Yeah, so a couple things, and I'm going to go on a little bit of I'll try not to go on a little bit of a rant here, because um, there's a lot of misinformation out there about VA financing, and unfortunately, a lot of people are being told that you can't get another VA loan once you've had one, which is completely false.
Yeah.
You have your VA loan currently tied up, so you can't get another one. Therefore, we're going to refinance your existing property to free it up for the next house. Completely wrong. You don't have to do that either. In fact, you can have up to 3 existing VA loans. The VA loan is a tremendous benefit for anybody that is served. And there's criteria. I won't go into all that today, but there's a lot of different criteria. Basically, if you've served active duty, there's a lot of, for at least 180 days, I believe, continuous service, you qualify for VA benefits. And there's some other qualifications as well. But let's just say you have your VA benefits. You can do 0 money down. There's no mortgage insurance. And mortgage insurance is typically a fee that you pay the lender to insure them in the event that you don't pay your mortgage. So go figure. Great, great idea, guys, right? But it's to protect the lender in case of default. But the cool thing with the VA loan is that the VA is actually guaranteed by the government. So if the veteran defaults, then the lender is protected. So in the event of that default, so it's a guarantee. It's really neat. So it's basically like a built-in insurance policy in the event that they don't pay. So lenders, because of this guarantee, are more apt to be flexible in underwriting standards, guidelines. It's a whole different ballgame with far as getting a loan. Credit scores don't even really matter that much on a VA loan. It's not like, oh shoot, I have a 680 and the guy just told me my rate went up because my credit score was below 720 or 700. That does not exist on a VA loan. They do price somewhat for risk, but quite frankly, it's fluff. Lenders do it for risk, but the VA doesn't really have that. Oh, well, you're down here, so you must pay more. No, that's not how it works. The lenders are making that decision, but it's just a great benefit. And if you have what's called a VA disability rating, you qualify for a waiver of this funding fee that the VA typically will charge or assess you, which is a huge saver. So that opens you up to so many neat things. Like once you've owned a home, like especially now with homes having appreciated, you can use your VA benefits to actually pull money, cash out of your house if you need be. If it's financially responsible and feasible for you to do so. Obviously, don't just, hey, let's pull 100 grand out and stick it in the couch. No, let's do something with it, pay off debt, kids got to go to college, stuff like that, to avoid replacing other debt. But that's another neat thing. Some people have gotten second mortgages to do home equity loans. They're a disabled vet. Pay that sucker off. Rates are below 3 right now. So, right. Goodness gracious.
It's like the lowest it's been. How long would you say, when was the last time you've ever seen interest rates?
I've been doing this 26 years and I've never, ever seen rates this low.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
Nope. It's unbelievable. And one of the neat things that the VA did last year with the, oh goodness, I'm going to mess up what the act was that brought this into play, but there was some really cool, huh?
The CARES Act?
No. It was the blue something. I'm choking now, man. Anyway, it was a change last year for VA loans that allowed, they increased funding fees across the board, but what they also did is they removed the cap of the VA loan. So normally it would be specific to like where you're buying in the country. And quite frankly, it just wasn't fair. You bought somewhere else and you couldn't use your VA benefits up to 100% because the county loan limit's lower. It's kind of stupid. So they removed that cap. You could literally get a $20 million VA loan with no money down if you qualified for it.
If you qualified,
so that's another neat aspect of that. So there's a lot with VA loans. I'm sure people don't
so
know.
many benefits that just talking to other active duty and veterans alike, some of them are just not as well informed than others, but that's great. And thank you for sharing that.
There's one other thing I did forget, because obviously everybody's refinancing or has refinanced right now, but the VA loan actually doesn't even call it a refinance. It's called it's completely different. It's called a VA IRRRL, 3 R's, interest rate reduction refinance loan. Yep. Actually, they do call it a refinance. It's in the URL. But anyway, so all it's meant is that you already have used your benefits It's already there. It's already guaranteed. They take that same loan and they tell the lender, it's like, hey, we're okay with you reducing the interest rate as long as you meet some criteria. And once you meet those criteria, basically you got to lower the interest rate at least 0.5%, and you have to meet what's called a net tangible benefit. And basically closing costs minus divided by your monthly savings have to be under 3 years to break even. So as long as you meet these criteria, we'll allow you to lower the interest rate. We don't need an appraisal. We don't need to verify any income or asset information. I mean, a dude could have literally lost his job, and still be able to do a VA IRRRL. So it's really kind of cool. And that's helped out so many people right now. Anybody at I would have said 2 3/4 about, a month ago, but now, I mean, if you're sitting over 3%, you need to probably do it to do the IRRRL and take advantage of the benefits. And it's it's probably the lowest cost type of financing you can ever do is the VA IRRRL. It's really, really neat.
Yeah, we just did ours late last year, and we're down to like 2.5
Yeah,
interest rate.
crazy,
It's just crazy.
crazy.
But
Yeah,
so Rick, throughout your years in helping military veterans and active duty with
yeah.
with their purchasing home and loan and things like that, what would you say has been the most rewarding moment? What's been the most rewarding experience so far?
Oh man, see, I've listened to some of your podcasts. You always ask this question. I'm like, what am I gonna say? But sure. Um, you know, I mean, I get rewarding experiences every week, every day of the week. Anytime when I get a thank you email from, that I helped do this, or, praise God that we got it, we got our offer accepted in this house. Thank you for your guidance on that. Um, I mean, I can't really point to one specific uh, thing. I mean, we've helped veterans get their funding fee refunded, tens of thousands of dollars, to just doing some really cool things. I mean, the company itself, Movement Mortgage, does some just amazing things for the community in general. If you wanted to check them out, movement.com. I've never been at a company that has such a culture, such just a heart for people. And you align that, and I'm actually wearing a shirt. Can't see it on a podcast, but it's called Movement Military. They've really designated just a lot of heart towards to the men and women in both in uniform that have served our country as well. So it just really fit well for me. But as far as one particular experience, man, they just happen every day of the
It's
week.
like every day.
It's just awesome to serve. And I don't mean that tongue in cheek. I know it's a cliche, but people that really know who I am know that I'm not just spitting out those words. It's truly a passion of mine, and I get pretty upset when people, especially in the military community, get cheated or they get told the wrong thing, or I'm like, man, I want to just call that guy and just let him know what I think of him. Not really, but anyway, it's an honor to serve these guys. It really
Well, I
is.
think I think just with your background and obviously with your dad
Mhm.
having have served, you know we can relate to you, right? Like
Yeah.
you've gone through some of the things that we've been going through, and maybe purchasing a home and things like that. So you're able to communicate and relate to us as active duty and veterans. So
I can definitely relate. You know, from being on the phone with a crying military spouse to someone who, I will tell you, I have kind of a deep story of, I mean, we all have 9/11 stories, but one in particular, lady who literally was in my office the day before she got on the American Airlines plane.
mm,
And she was a veteran, and we were helping her buy her first house. And then and to see her name on the scroll list, it just lit a, and then my business went literally dark, because that's working with military, and all of a sudden everybody is on high call.
right.
And it just lit a fire on, I'm not doing enough, and we're just not doing enough. um but yeah, I've thankfully and thankfully I can relate um to the challenges that the military members face. Even though I haven't served, I've been very close to many people who are currently serving and have served, and kind of have empathized and been there, I guess, been there,
Yeah,
done that
yeah.
with them through it. So, but that's all the more the honor, you know,
Well, we
being
appreciate.
being with somebody through it. It's almost just an honor to be the friend and being, I'm not just handing money out. It's more than that. So sorry,
We
not to get
appreciate
mushy or anything, but
appreciate you for all the
yeah,
assistance with our community, man.
yeah,
So Rick, before we go into our second segment here,
yeah.
what's one thing you want our listeners or our viewers to take away from this episode?
Just make sure you're getting some good advice. It's okay to check around a couple times. I'm not saying check around with me, just check around with a couple people, uh, get some good, solid advice. And, you know, it's good to shop around. It's good to do your due diligence, and it's good to tinker, and it's good to run models on just about everything. My father told me to question everything. He said, Ricky, question everything. And so that's kind of the advice I give, especially around financing and real estate. Just question everything. And when you're not sure, I've got the tools to help people ask those good questions. So I guess that's what I would leave you with: question everything.
So, I got a question. So, you mentioned before we go to our second
Yeah.
segment here, you mentioned before funding fee, right? An
Yeah.
admin fee. Like I said, um, what what is the range? What are we supposed to be looking for with that? Like, is there a specific price range where oh yeah, it should be around there, or if it's
For the
like,
funding fee.
yeah, for funding fee.
So the funding fee is the fee that you pay to the VA, and the lender technically collects that and pays the VA.
Excuse me, the admin fee.
Oh, the admin fee?
Yeah.
It's I guess it's the VA's admin fee. I guess that's
Okay.
what they call it. There's a lot of ways you can sidestep it. So let's say you're active and you're buying your new house, but you've used your VA before. You're going to get drilled if you go up to 100%. So it's like 3.6% of your base loan amount. So if you buy a home for $500,000, for every 100,000, you're basically at $3,600 in getting kicked for every 100,000, 3.6%. So it's a pretty penny at 500,000 sales price. So there are ways to sidestep that. One of them is by putting a 5% down payment. And there's ways you can kind of trick the system to still do 100% financing by doing a 5% down VA loan and actually doing a subsequent second mortgage up to 100%. But what that does, it saves you 2% in funding fees. So, I mean, that's 10 grand in cash, in equity that you would have just lost. Poof. So there's that funding fee does go down as you get lower, and if you put more money down. The magic number is 5%. If you go 10%, it goes down just a tad bit more, not a huge benefit, but 5% is kind of the magic number. And sometimes there's just no way to avoid the funding fee. You just got to suck it up. But there's also an interesting thing regarding the funding fee. Let's say you're getting out of the military and you're kind of far along, or you just got out and you're going to get your disability rating, right? And your paperwork started, but you don't have your rating yet. There's actually a way you can get the funding fee either refunded or waived up front. So there's a little trick to that. You can ask the VA for what's called a memo rating. And most people don't know about this, but the VA will actually tell you. They may not tell you how much. They may not tell you, hey, but you can get some sort of what's called a memo rating that'll allow the lender up front to waive that funding fee, because it's the lender's responsibility to collect it for the VA and pay it. But the worst case scenario with the funding fee is let's say if you are going to get your disability rating, and by the way, if you get $1 from the VA, you get your funding fee waived. So there's no magical percentage number that you need to have to get your funding fee waived. That's not right. Anyway, so if you get let's say you pay the funding fee at the time of purchase, your lender collects it, and then you then subsequently get your funding fee, you get your disability rating, you can actually request to get your funding fee refunded by the VA. It used to be that the lender would simply just apply it to your principal of your loan. Now the VA is cutting you a check.
Mm.
So, which is kind of cool. So just little things like that are that we make sure people understand.
So you can get that after the fact.
Yeah,
Is there
after
like
the
a
fact.
certain time frame you have to apply for that, or like?
So the only criteria is that uh, the VA uses this very a specific verbiage. I'll have to send it to you. I forget exactly what they say, but it's if your paperwork is in and they've basically put their stamp on it, like, hey, it's received, whatnot, they will then typically retroactive your accepted date of disability. As long as that date is prior to the date of your loan closing, you'll get your funding fee refunded.
Okay.
So that's the only criteria. We talk through people that all the time to make sure they're doing it right, that they communicate with the VA before they close, so everything's in order, so they get their refund. Because sometimes
Oh,
it's like 5 figures.
wow. Wow. Well, that's, I mean, that's great to hear. And I'm sure like people listening now is like, I mean, I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
And it's good tool and good knowledge to have and
yeah.
for the future. So so Rick, going into our second segment here. So this is what I call the fast five. This I ask the same five questions I ask all my guests. Are you
Okay,
ready?
sure. Fire away.
All right. So first question, what's one hobby you enjoy?
Pickleball
We
and
talked
golf.
about that
I
before.
don't play golf anymore, so pickleball.
Pickleball. Okay. Second question. If you had to choose one person to hang out with for one day, who would it be and why?
Uh, well, Jesus. But I'm gonna be I'll be with him in eternity. So I can wait. I don't want to go meet him right now. Well,
Not
actually,
yet.
that'd be okay too.
Next question. Recommend a book for our audience to read.
Oh man, lots of good books. Um, Probably one of the neatest books on business that I've read was How to Master the Art of Selling Anything by a guy named Tom Hopkins. Really neat thing. It's not just about sales; it's just about a lot of neat, just really cool book.
How to master the art of selling anything.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'll have to check that. I haven't heard about that yet. Next question. What's your favorite quote and why?
Well, I think it was Arnold Palmer that said, "If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're right." And that just goes to just having the right mental mindset. And that's something that my dad taught me years ago. If you, yeah, it's just something from my father who would always tell me, "Hey, Ricky, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're right. So think you can, and you can do it. You can do anything you set your mind to."
Yeah, I think it all just anything we do, it just goes back to the mindset, right?
Yeah,
Like if if it's in your mind that you can do it, then do it. Like go ahead and do it, you
right,
know?
man. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. Our bodies can do, and our minds can do anything we set it
Yeah.
to. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
Hmm.
Uh Last question here, Rick. Where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years, or even 10 years from now?
Well, um, I hope to be I, I hope to be having my son run the business a little bit more in the day to day.
Okay.
I just I don't know. I love my job, so I'll be like my dad who wanted to work until till he dies. So that'll be me. I'm sure somebody will have to peel me away from my job. So 5, 10 years from now, I still might see myself doing what I'm doing because I love it. But I really want to get my family more involved in this as well. But I set a goal several years back that I was going to make a real concerted effort and really serving this community. And I feel like we've made good on our promise, and we've done a lot of good things. So that's kind of I just want to see that grow. I really want to see that grow.
Um so before we go here, Rick, have you heard of the active duty passive income group?
The active duty passive income group. No, I've not.
Okay. I've had a couple of their founders on the podcast. But yeah, they have like a group of about 15,000 people on the Facebook group, and it's a lot of like military, active duty veterans, spouses who are into investing in real
Huh,
estate and things like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, after this, we can kind of
that's
talk to you
interesting.
more,
Yeah. Okay.
and maybe if I can make an intro if you want.
Oh, that'd be sick. Absolutely. Yeah, this is right up our alley.
Okay,
Yeah, so obviously you can't use that's one thing, VA loans. You can't use your VA loan for an investment purchase, but um, there's nothing to say you can't. So a lot of people are actually doing this and they're
a lot
very
of people are
smart.
house hacking their homes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So you can buy the home with your VA and then you just keep it, you rent it out, then you move on your next duty station. What's cool is that you can have up to 3 existing VA loans, and since the loan limits are going up every year, you are probably not going to be just automatically running out of eligibility. So you'll have some entitlement remaining when you by the time you go to your next duty station. So more than likely, you'll have something left over that you can then use the benefits again and get your next house.
yeah.
So, so just kind of a neat thing, Hey, shoot, use that. Absolutely.
Well, Rick, I appreciate you for your time
Yeah.
and if obviously for sharing your knowledge and in your years of experience as a loan officer and helping our community with buying their homes and educating us on the VA loan. Before you go, can you just let our audience know where can they stay in touch with you? Where can they find you at?
Yep. Yeah, you can find me at loanwithrick.com, and you can check me out on YouTube. So it's youtube.com// Rick Elmendorf, like the Air Force Base.
Okay. So guys, gals, make sure you go check out Rick Elmendorf, loanwithrick.com. And yeah, again, Rick, thank you for your time and sharing your
Oh
knowledge.
man, thanks for your podcast, man. This is you seriously have a great podcast. So thank you for what you're doing for everybody as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Rich. Stay in touch.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Take care.